Hi guys, the other day I got asked what makes a good UX designer for a startup. So I thought I'm going to just turn my camera on and record this ad hoc. This is the first ad hoc video I have ever done, thanks to you, Gary Vee. It's now all about documenting rather than creating. So I haven't done much planning for this. It's all just coming out. And hopefully I'm not mumbling too much and I provide you some good tips and tricks and value to find a good UX designer to work with you on your startup. Also would love to know from you guys what you think of that video. Leave a comment below and let me know if that was of value, and also if you have any questions, just pop it below and I might even create a video on it. So let's get started on it. I will jump right into it. What makes a good UX designer for a startup? First thing that you should look out for is the designer, UX designer, has to have experience. They have to have at least 2 or 3 years experience having worked with startups before. Again, this is my opinion, but if you want to get someone on board that helps you to define your product and that helps you to get the best value out of your budget and gets your product to a stage where you can launch it and lowers the risk of failure because research has been done properly, testing has been done and so on. You need to get someone on board who has experience having worked with startups, especially if it's your first time building a business. So I say 2-3 years, but obviously if they've been in the game for a very long time, then the longer they have been in it, the more they will know, because the more they came across, the more experience they could collect, and the more they tried out and made mistakes and also learned from it. So I can tell you right now, I'm an old bunny. I have been in this industry for 12 years now. Gosh, I'm getting old. For 12 years, and I've worked with over 50 startups. I think I need to count again because that's like the stats from 2 years ago or something. But I came across a lot of different startups, different industries, and while the industries are all very different, the fundamental way of building a product is always the same, and which is great because it's been a very long journey of being able to work with startups, to build products, test things and fail sometimes and improve and learn and so on. So you want to get someone who has experience and has at least worked with 2 or 3 startups. Now, there are 2 ways of approaching that. If you want to search for UX designer that has already experience in your industry, that is a great thing to do. Or another good way is to look for UX designer that has actually worked with a lot of different startups, because that shows they're very quickly able to adopt to a new industry and are able to provide experience. And of course, on the other side, if the UX designer has already worked with a startup within that industry, they have already learnings from that industry that they can then provide. So number 2, a good UX designer is able to see the end product from the beginning. So that doesn't mean if you go to them with an idea, they're able to let you know straight away, okay, this will take X amount of days and this will, or weeks or months, and this will cost that much money to design an app or a web application. But a good UX designer is able to ask you the right questions, maybe run a discovery workshop and so on, and is then able to actually estimate how long it takes and how much money it costs. Know the pain of startups. I had a few startups myself. You have a particular budget and you literally have 0 flexibility. You do, it's not major, it might be 10 or 20%. And it's important to find someone who is absolutely on spot with the estimations, and that again comes with experience again. And you will see that by the way they will ask you questions, and you will also see that by what they promise you or what they say they can do and what is out of budget. And yeah, That's number 2. A UX designer can see the bigger picture and is able to work on a given budget, if it's not unrealistic, but is able to say, okay, this we can do this in within the budget, this would be out of the budget, and is also able to help you to spec out the application. And because one of the other things is that I come across with a lot of founders is, especially again if they build their tech for the first time, is that they have a lot of ideas of what features they need to build, but really they are not important at all. And it's more important to figure out what's the number 1 feature that will drive users to your app, or that will get customers to buy your product. Like what are the essentials? What's the MVP, minimal viable product? It's super important. That's why I always find it tricky to, I'm humbling. It's super important. So I hope I made that point clear. Number 3 is communication. Being a good UX designer, being a freelance UX designer, working with startups, communication is the most important thing, because a good UX designer is able to manage your expectations. And what I mean with that is, again, if you go to a UX designer with 20 features that you want to have in your application, and let's say 16 of them are actually just a nice to have but a not must to have, a good UX designer will tell you that you do not need those features, and that is more important to build the core product and identifying what that core product is and helping you to build that properly, test it, learn from it, improve it, and have something almost, I don't want to say bulletproof. I can't say bulletproof because nothing is bulletproof, but have something that is a proper solid app, not just, the app works when you click a button that it goes to the next page, but a proper solid app that has a user experience that is suitable for your target audience and that provides value, that solves a problem for your target audience, and that's why people will buy your product in the first place. So communication is everything. A good UXer will tell you what's possible, what's not possible, what needs more work, and a good UX designer is able to guide you to get to that end result, which is building a successful product, or which is to launch a successful product, which is to fundraise, whatever your next business goal is, and UX designer is able to work with you to get to that point. Which also leads me to point number 4, is a good UX designer is focused on the objectives, is focused on the end goal, rather getting too carried away in the micro, which doesn't mean the micro doesn't happen, but it's important to look at it from the bigger picture first. Okay, what is the end goal? What are you trying to achieve as the startup? As I said, is it fundraising? Is it launching a product? If you launch a product, what's your goal? What is your business metrics? Do you want to get, how many signups do you want to get? What's even realistic? How many signups to get? Do you want to sell a product? What's realistic? So a good UX designer is also able to help you. That's my point of it, because that's my opinion, because I have worked with a lot of startups in the past. A good UX designer is literally almost like a startup mentor. They're able to help you to define your business metrics, and they are able to tell you what needs to be built in order to get there, and what needs to be, and how it needs to be tested in order to see if what has been built is actually valid and gets you to that point. That's that. Number 5, which is for me the obvious, but I've come across in the past UX designers that don't emphasize it enough, because maybe they think the budget isn't big enough to really do research or testing, but there are always lean ways to do testing. And that's another thing to communicate with the client, which I also experienced, is startups are afraid of testing. Why are they afraid? Because it sounds, first of all, it's a reality check, but second, it sometimes sounds like it would take a very long period of time to test stuff, especially when you throw in the word user interviews. A lot of startups seem to shy away because they think, oh my god, I will basically get a UX designer involved who does a lot of research, and this will cost me a lot of money, and then it will take weeks and weeks and weeks to build stuff, which is not the case. If you're a good lean UX designer and you have worked with startups before, you know how to get to the end result, how to get data quickly in order to validate your assumptions, and figure out what the product is going to look like, what feature will drive the traffic, or what feature will get the engagement, what feature will get you customers, and so on. So a good UX designer is data driven in a way that it is feasible for a startup. So user research and testing is done in a startup way. It's lean and it's the essentials to get you to the end point. It's not a budget of who knows what to do user interviews. It's literally, there are lots of different methods on how to do testing and validation of startup ideas and so on. So a good UX designer would know how to do it, and they're able to do it in a cost-effective and in a quick manner. Again, coming back to my point, a good UX designer is data-driven. That means every single decision that a UX designer makes is based on data, which comes from understanding the target audience of your product, and that's it. These are 5 things of what makes a good UX designer for a startup. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I didn't make this longer than it needed to be. Again, this is an ad hoc video. It's the first time I've ever doing something like that. It's all about documenting, not creating now. So I decided I'm just going to start sharing what I know and give you advice. Hopefully that will help you on your startup journey. And also, before I forget, I actually wrote a mini book a few months ago, last year, I don't know, time flies. It's still very relevant, and it's about lean UX and how you can validate your startup ideas before you spend anything. So if you are a early stage startup that has literally zero budget to get a UX designer engaged at this stage, I will post the link in the description box, and you can download this book for free. Again, I just wrote it because I wanted to help you on your startup journey. And also, if you like to get more advice from me specifically for your startup, or if you'd like to work with me to build your MVP, then I will also put I think my contact details, or I'll put a link to my website, and you can contact me on there. My contact details are on there, and that's it. Oh, and also let me know what other things you want to know, what problems you experience, what other questions you have, and I might create a video on that. See you next time. Bye.